Apple is one of the most successful companies in the world, even topping $3 trillion a couple times over the past couple of years. It's no surprise that every time they release a new product, their sales go through the roof and driving up their revenue. Every time they release a new iPhone, new iPad, new MacBook, sales are through the roof. There is no question about that. And in the past 3 years, their sales in China has also been a big benefit to them and a boost to their bottom line. But in 2024, things in China are not going so good at the start of 2024. With competition from Huawei and foldables on the market, Apple is facing stiff competition in China. So in this video, we're going to go over what is happening with Apple in China and to take a look at the stock price as well, as it has been affected by what is going on in China. But before we dive deep into that, if you enjoy staying up to date with the latest tech news, then you've landed at the right channel. Make sure you do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that notification bell as well. All right, let's dive deep into this. Apple iPhone sales plunged 24% in China as Huawei smartphone business resurges, report says. Now, this is an article out of CNBC.com, so we're going to go through this real quick. Sales of Apple's iPhones plunged in China for the first 6 weeks of 2024, according to a Counterpoint research report. Phone sales dropped 24% in the period, as Apple faced stiff competition from local smartphone firms like Huawei, Oppo, Vivo, and Xiaomi. Apple came under particular pressure from Chinese tech giant Huawei, whose consumer business is experiencing a resurgence in China after the launch of its Mate 60 smartphone. The best performing smartphone brands for the first 6 weeks were Huawei and its spin-off Honor, which brand out of the tech giant in 2020 as a result of the U.S. sanctions. So remember in 2020, U.S. put sanctions on Huawei and said you can no longer sell your products in the United States. So they were forced to, abandon the United States and, sell their products everywhere else. But ever since then, they've kind of bounced back from that. Huawei smartphone unit shipments rose 64% year over year in the first 6 weeks of 2024. Apple is facing a tough environment in its key market, China. Several notable trends are adding pressure, not least of which is intense competition from local Chinese smartphone makers, which I just talked about. Once the world's largest smartphone player by sale volume, Huawei was really the only major challenger to Apple in China when it came to high-end devices. Customers flocked to iPhones once Huawei's phones lost their competitiveness due to the lack of 5G and no cutting-edge semiconductors. Huawei is making a comeback, trying to win back the defectors to iPhone from a couple of years ago. So Huawei is making a big push in China, and ever since their resurgence, they have really cut away at Apple's core, as evident here when their Apple sales are down 24% over year. So let's cut into this. So again, Apple is still is experiencing troubles in China. As you can see here, Apple cuts shipments over reduced China demand. So Apple is feeling the heat, so they say, you know what, we're not going to sell as much as we thought we initially were, so we're going to cut back on those shipments. Apple's weekly shipments in China have declined by 30 to 40% in the last few weeks. Kuo is expecting the trend to continue in the face of competition from Huawei and foldable options in China. So it looks like people in China are definitely embracing the foldable market. As we know, Apple has not entered that market, and they're not expected to enter that market at the earliest 2026 and probably 2027. So you have 3-4 years or 2 to 3 years probably for a foldable device from Apple. So we'll see how that actually impacts Apple over the next few years. Let's take a look at this right here. Apple China iPhone downturn expected to continue throughout 2024. So these are all coming from different analysts. So this is not AppleInsider.com. Apple's iPhone sales in China will probably worsen throughout 2024, according to Jefferies analyst, with a double-digit decline forecast for sales in the country. So Apple is experiencing huge problems in China, and like I said, throughout the year, it is not expected to get better. That may change once the iPhone 16 comes out or iOS 18 comes out, which will expect it to have AI features that may boost some of Apple's sales in the coming months. Despite the opinion of some analysts that Apple is being resilient in China, the company's sales have still taken a knock. If analysts from Jefferies are to be believed, the downturn may continue further. According to a note released by Jefferies on Sunday and seen by Bloomberg Industry, checks indicate that the rest of the mobile industry grew in December. While Apple endured a sluggish start for the iPhone 15 generation, it is claimed that the slower sales has resulted in a 30% year-over-year decline for the iPhone. So again, 30% decline in China. So again, obviously we know China is one of the largest markets in the world, having over 1.2, 1.3 billion people. So a lot of companies are heavily invested in China. Apple is heavily invested in China. They've made their bed in China, and so they're made a big gamble in China. So it did pay off on them starting the year 2020 all the way to 2023. But like I said, in 2024 they are experiencing that downturn so far this year in the first couple of weeks. And let's talk about the stock price for Apple. Apple, again, one of the most valuable companies, hitting $3 trillion a couple of times. Stock price had a high of like $199 or $200, but it's actually off of that all-time high. Apple stocks fall to lowest level this year, while other tech companies see AI-fueled rally the solid 9 to 5 Mac. So again, Apple has not introduced any AI functionality yet into their phone. So iOS 18 is supposed to have some AI functionality, and Apple does have their own large language model that they're working on called Ferret 7B, and they also have a 13B model as well. So Apple is working on that, but they are not there yet, and as of right now it is hurting them, especially in China, and also the stock price as well. So let's look at some things within the stock price. So as of today, as the recording of this video, again, it hit a low of about 170 just a few days ago last week, or 169 actually, but it has rebounded a little bit up to like 173 after hours trading. But again, their highs at the beginning of this year, back in February, just back in January, I want to say, hit their highs of $199. But ever since then, in 2024, the stock has taken a hit. Now, does that mean Apple is in trouble? Does that mean Apple is going away? Heck no. Apple is not going anywhere. And, some of these cycles, they're cyclical. Stocks go up, stocks go down. But they are experiencing a bit of a problem in China. And again, the stock price is taking a hit. But I do expect things to probably turn around again once they release new products. They just released a new MacBook Air with the M3 chip. So I expect that to fuel Apple in the next few months. And then obviously in the summer, we're expecting iOS 18. And then in the fall, we're expecting iPhone 16. So again, if the demand for iPhone 16 reaches some of its normal levels pre-iPhone 15, then those sales should boost Apple's stock price back up to normal levels. And probably if you're an investor and looking to maybe get Apple while it's a little bit down, this may be the right time for you. Again, I'm not giving stock advice, but if you've always wanted to jump into Apple, this may probably be the best time to look at probably getting some of that stock. But I want to take a look at a couple things right here. I'm not going to read this article, but this is just one of the headlines. EU's investiture on Apple's fine. Quite obvious there was a consumer harm done. So again, Apple has to pay out fines. So that has also had a negative customer sentiment for them, which has affected their stock price as well. But I want to take a look at what has happened to Apple this year. So should be able to see it. So over the past 5 days, the Apple stock is down 1.34%. Over the month, they're down 8.53%. The last 3 months, 10.58%. And year to date, they're down 10.27%. So this year, they're down over 10%, which is a bit of a retrace back from their all-time highs this year. But again, I don't think Apple's going to go anywhere. They're not going to go bankrupt. They're not going to fold. Apple's still going to be around. Again, they're probably the second most valuable company at this point. But again, I do expect things to turn around once new product comes in the next few months down the pipeline. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this is nothing to worry about? Do you think Apple's in trouble? What do you think is going to happen for Apple in the rest of 2024? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Once again, thank you for taking time out to watch this video. If you enjoy staying up to date with the latest tech news, then you've landed at the right place. Make sure you do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button. Also, if you have friends or family that may be interested in this type of content, make sure you share this with them. Also, don't forget to hit that like button. If you want to stay up to date with the latest tech news, head over to soundsnerdy.com, where I curate and aggregate tech news from around the web covering Apple, Samsung, Google, Android, computing, and even more general tech news, all at the website soundsnerdy.com. And for even more tech news in video form, check out one of these two videos right here. And until next video, guys, stay nerdy.